The early August morning. Her new life. I'm not sure what I'm looking for here. I want to vent, but I'll also take any advice offered. A little background before diving into it. W and I have been married nearly 20 years. 20th anniversary is actually next week, and we have 3 teenage kids. 19, 17, 13. We've had our ups and downs. Unfortunately, we disagreed on the ratio of ups to downs. I thought our time together was great. Her, not so much. Back in January, W had to go out of town for about 7 months. Work-related. Though neither of us were looking forward to the separation, we figured it would be manageable since we'd dealt with it before. I had to endure a few stints away from the family for months at a time. 6 months or more. During my time away, we kept in frequent contact, and I made sure to schedule time in her morning and evening so she could call and decompress. This was the norm with the W and me. We loved to talk to each other. Even when one of us took a quick trip out of town, our cell phone bill would be ridiculous with the number of calls, texts back and forth. Given our history, I thought things would be fine. W left in early Jan and things were good for the first 3 weeks. However, I began noticing changes in her demeanor as she solidified her new social circle. Suddenly she would only call me on her way out of the door, so our conversations were no more than 30 to 60 seconds. If I called her, she would find something else to do. In one example, someone walked by her office door, so she had to go see if she could help them. Later, she would become noticeably irritated if I called her and would often manufacture an argument to get off of the phone. During this same period, she also cut off other family members. Kids, siblings, and parents. Needless to say, things got progressively worse. She began attacking me for being jealous because she's enjoying herself and I'm home miserable with the kids. She also told me that she had no intention of sitting in a room and pining for H. Then the relationship revisionism began, with the "we hardly talk when you're away." And you know I hate talking on the phone. So, it went. She made sure every conversation became an argument. Unfortunately, our kids also noticed this as she would randomly explode on me in the middle of a Skype call. All of this is on top of the lying to me about money. Would withdraw money from the account and lie about it. Where she was going. Said she had meetings, but actually went parties, the bar, and general disrespect. I've been to 2 separate counselors, confided in my mom and a good friend, and they all asked the same question. Have you considered the possibility that W is being unfaithful? Have I thought about it? Hi. What I didn't tell them is one of the times I called W, she answered the phone instead of hitting the ignore key, and I had the privilege of hearing her having sex with someone. Surely it's a bad connection, I thought, so I called back. The phone answered on its own. She must have had it right by her. And she's still going at it. I'm trying to get her attention, with no luck, so I call back again. This time, while hitting the keys and yelling her name, I get their attention. I hear a guy ask, "What is that noise?" Then I hear her say, "What noise?" Oh, crap, and hang up the phone. She's denying everything, of course. She claimed to be in the car sending text messages, and that's what I was hearing. When I said, "Send pictures of the text conversation with the timestamps," she replied, "No. Because I shouldn't have to ... You should just believe me." Anyway, with nearly 20 years under our belt, I decided that we should see if the marriage was worth salvaging. Then began a cycle of me completely mortgaging every ounce of dignity to save my marriage. In the meantime, W treated me worse and worse. It boggles my mind how we were together for so long and I never noticed this side of her was just below the surface. We went to individual bank accounts a few weeks back as she almost sent us into negative territory by swiping money from the account. I have always insisted that she be a part of our monthly budgeting exercise, though I normally had to drag her along, kicking and screaming. I would always ask how much she needed for this payday and we would set aside that amount. I have to emphasize something at this point. I've never been one to tell W what she could have. We are equal partners and should agree on how our money is spent. Anyway, W would blow through her money and start eating into other budget lines: groceries, school lunches, utilities, my allowance. The last time I called her out for doing it and lying about it, W told me that other people are spending way more. So you should really get off my back. She followed up by informing me that she would spend whatever amount she wanted when she wanted to. At that point, I told her it was time to split the money. Unfortunately, she wanted all of the joint accounts split, to include our brokerage accounts. We signed an agreement that the division would serve as the liquid asset property division in the divorce. We'll see if it holds up. I suspect she's spending like a drunken sailor on shore leave, because that's what she does. So we'll see if she's crying poor when she returns. I will give her credit on one point: she promptly transfers, through a holding account, sufficient funds to help run the household, and often sends more money than we need. Though I only keep what is necessary to run the house. I deposit the excess into her local savings account, though she doesn't know it yet. I'm going to consult with an attorney I've been in contact with as I expect a vicious custody battle for S13 is brewing. We'll see. I'm not going to let him be a pawn in her game, so I may have to make a few concessions. Until next year when he can decide where he wants to live. I've cleaned all of her belongings out the bedroom and common areas and put them in the garage. Hopefully the numerous critters will leave her stuff alone, but I'm not terribly concerned about it. Though it's a little late, I'm going 180 on this. Not for her, mind you. As I stated before, I have no interest in R with W. Just the thought of her disgusts me. I just want her out of my life. This 180 is because I have repeatedly thrown myself into her emotional traps and she had a ball completely abusing me. Yes, I set myself up for the abuse, but today is a new day. I'm no longer blind to what my STBX is. I can genuinely start moving forward. My kids are a pretty tough brood, but they're not taking it well. I make sure they know I'm available to talk and, for the most part, they take me up on the offer. I answer as many questions as I can, while leaving out some of the more sordid details. Of course, they've tried talking to W a few times, but she normally snaps at them and refuses to address their concerns. Nevertheless, I try to keep them from being too angry with her while she's away. I may despise her, but I can legally terminate my relationship with her. Our kids are kind of stuck, but it will be up to W to repair their relationship when she returns. I will not participate in that. Comments. She is still in fantasy land because she is gone. Once she actually comes home and realizes the totality of all the damage she is doing, you will see someone completely different. I don't think she will be begging for a second chance, but I bet she will be just blaming you and how you pushed her to it. Regardless of what happens, stay the course. No one ever deserves to be betrayed like that. If she has thought of her marriage and her family while going out, then that is her problem. Focus on taking care of yourself and the kids and start separating personal items so she can't take them once she is back in town. She has no respect for you whatsoever. The she has treated you will not change in this divorce. Mediation will not work. Litigation is the only way you can gain control over your life and end this crap. OP responds, I agree on all points. She was initially receptive to the mediation and a quick dissolution but has since flip-flopped on it. My gut tells me her is advising her on how to approach this, particularly as it looks like she wants to fight me for primary custody of S13 when she was perfectly content with letting him stay with me just 4 weeks ago. Anyway, I'm ready for her to bring the pain. I know once it begins, I'll be that much closer to being done with her. She will be back within the next 2 months. Today was a bad day. As angry as I am, and as much as I want to get away from W, I missed her terribly all day. I know these days will come, but it just sucks. I'll go for a run and try to clear my head. The kids are angry and sad, and unfortunately, still hoping for a miracle. They're not receptive to counseling just yet, but thankfully they're talking to me. I plan on easing them towards IC. It pains me that this will likely be an ugly divorce. It would have been so much easier if she just took her money, her stuff, newfound freedom, and hit the door. We could have agreed on a fair custody arrangement and lived our lives with minimal interaction. Alas, she's trying to turn this into a win-lose scenario. She has no idea that neither of us wins. The older two found out by accident. I was talking to W the other day and she was, once again, being abusive and berating me for letting the kids know what was happening. That mom and I were divorcing. She said I should have just lied to them until she returned so I couldn't control the story. After months of telling my kids that parents drift apart sometimes, and mom is not the bad guy, I lost it on W. I threw the infidelity at her and told her to have fun screwing her boyfriend. Unfortunately, I didn't notice that my kids were standing behind me. I'm not upset that they know, I just regret how they found out. Sadly, D came to me an hour later and said W's behavior made sense now. When it actually happened, things weren't as cut and dry. I started rationalizing the situation and blaming myself for driving her away. I finally got my wits about me and placed the blame where it belonged, on her. This is great, though. Just talking about how easily she discarded our marriage is chasing away the nostalgia and feeling of missing her. I'm reminded of why our marriage is over. Increasingly, she will not respond to my emails about the kids. It's a power play. I mitigate that by just having the kids contact her directly. Sometimes it takes her days to respond, and that just reinforces what the kids think of her these days. Today is our 20th anniversary. It will be a nice reminder of the lie I've been living. Looking back, I can recall some recurring themes, like her lack of respect for me. But I never thought she could become this nasty. I honestly don't know who she is anymore. I was beginning to become lost in the anger and resentment resulting from the breakdown of my marriage. I took a few days to regroup and deliberate on the entire situation. While doing so, I went into lurker status on the Life After Divorce forums just to see how people were dealing with the other side. I've come to accept some hard truths. First, and most importantly, is there was nothing I could have done to prevent W from betraying our marriage. It was her choice. Second, I cannot focus my energy on building a relationship with someone who will not see beyond their immediate selfish wants. Third, life is not fair. By that, I mean that me working hard to be a good H does not necessarily mean we will do the same. That's just how it goes. So where do I go from here? Well, to be honest, I'm very optimistic about my future. Though the life W and I built together is done, there is much to celebrate in the past and future. I have great memories of our time together, which I will file away and reminisce upon occasionally. At the same time, I will also remember how she betrayed me and discarded our marriage when it was convenient. I will cherish that memory as a reminder that, sometimes, life sucks. You just have had to pick yourself up and move on. If ever I feel weak, I will simply recall the phone call in which I had the opportunity of hearing her having fun with the OM. I'm looking forward to the divorce and the opportunity to remold my life as I see fit. I'm still a young guy, late 30s. I'm relatively good looking, at least I think so. I have a great career and awesome prospects for the future. I think I should be fine. As her return draws near, I know that reconciliation is not even a remote possibility. And that is my choice. I had an opportunity to witness my growth over these few short weeks during a recent conversation with W. She was planning an out-of-town excursion for her and the kids, and she invited me along. I politely, and without the slightest hint of hesitation, declined. That is significant progress for me. There was no anger, bitterness, nor animosity in my voice. I simply did not want to go. Make no mistake, I am not claiming some miracle recovery. I fully expect to have awesome days and completely horrific days. However, I no longer fear starting over. It may be a little early, but I think I'm ready to transition to the LAD forums. Thanks to everyone who took the time to respond. I truly appreciate your candor and concern. P.S. W seems to be backing off on the contentious divorce angle. She says she knows I will behave in a fair manner and intends to go along with whatever divorce settlement I propose. Nice, but I'll keep the lawyer on speed dial just in case. I've seen her true face, and it sucks. My philosophy is, however, that the betrayal will hurt as long as she occupies emotional space in my life. As I rearrange my life and sanitize our relationship, I will be able to look back and, instead of focusing on the hurt, I can focus on how fortunate I was to be given a second chance with myself. I talked to the STBX regarding something going on with one of our kids, and I'm pretty sure I interrupted her and the OM. Anyway, she was nasty and I, foolishly, asked why she was angry with me when she was the one who screwed me over. Then I got angry. 2 steps forward and 1 back. On the upside, I am no longer hiding her affair. I told my family and hers. I'm trying to track down the OM's family. I think I know who it is, but I am not 100% sure. So, freaking pissed after dealing with the STBX today. She went from being slightly reasonable a few days, to an unreasonable jerk. My gut tells me the OM must have been away but came back. On the plus side, these morons posted a picture on W's FB page. Anyone who didn't know we wouldn't think much of it. But since her family knows W only allowed me or our kids in her close zone, they contacted me to question why W is snuggling with that strange man, though it's against every rule for dealing with divorce. I sent her a long email telling where she could go and what to do with the horse when she got there. It won't help in the long run, but screw it. I'll be so glad when this is over. A month later, things have settled down between the W and I. She's become much more cooperative with the D, and the confrontation is kept to a minimum. In fact, we haven't uttered a word in anger at each other for weeks. This is a significant accomplishment because our conversations have included queries about how the other is holding up. Neither one of us is holding up well. For the record, even though my story is infuriating, I can't seem to turn off the care button for her. Nor her for me. The emotions, however, suck big time. Anger at what happened, sadness about the dreams that were snuffed out, hope for the future, back to sadness about the future without her, then anger again, and the wheel spins on. A few times I caught myself asking if this is really what I wanted. I fell in love with my wife the moment I met her 20+ years ago, and unfortunately for me, that love has never faded. Throughout our marriage, every time she walked into a room I was hit with the same bolt that initially struck me all those years ago. Getting over her will be a long, painful journey for me. Alas, I don't have a choice. While I could, probably, forgive her, I know I could never forgive myself for accepting what she did to me. The paperwork will be filed within the next couple of weeks, and we should be done by late summer. No fighting, no one-upping. Just a D. One thing that helps me is accepting that I will still become emotional from time to time. Early on, if I was in a good mood and began to think about her, I'd try to fight the sadness. The harder I fought, the more severe the sadness would be, and the longer it hung around. If I just go through it, and set a time limit, the transitions are smoother. I think the OM was a situational thing, something that happened while she was out of town. The change in her attitude tells me he is probably not in the picture as much, anyway, and likely won't develop into a LTR. That shouldn't be interpreted as me trying to downplay what happened. Cheating is cheating. The kids are disappointed in her. She knows it and avoids talking with them as a result. While I know it's her responsibility to rebuild the relationship with our kids, I'm concerned that their reconciliation may be hampered. Call me old-fashioned, or a fool if you want, but I want my kids to have strong bonds with both parents. regardless of whether we are married or not. For myself, I'm trying to keep a positive attitude about everything, including the STBX. Divorce happens, and it can't always be that couple down the street. Our marriage is toast, but I do not want to harbor ill will towards her. You only get one go at this life. Why waste it on anger? I can't lie. I have been that cauldron of anger. What I've found, and this took a long time for me to realize, is the angrier I am about the situation, the sadder I am about the situation. It's a horrible cycle and I want nothing to do with it. Conversely, if I keep things in perspective, my life isn't over. Only the marriage, I can try to frame things positively. Additionally, I've noticed that the more cordial dealings are between STBX and myself, the less stress I have about the whole situation. The divorce will be rough enough, but we've been working at making it as amicable as possible. The process will be underway prior to her return, and I think we are both anxious to move out of this phase. Limbo. The thing that grinds my gears is that even though I know what the logical course of action is, my emotions keep trying to cloud the issue. I'm terrified that she will suggest R and I will be dumb enough to go for it. So I have to get moving quickly. To be honest, I've looked at resources about overcoming infidelity. Not because I want R, I just want to get angry and yell at the computer, how can you give her another chance? It helps remind me of my own situation. For the record, my STBX and I used to have conversations about infidelity. She thought it was the worst thing ever, while I used to joke, hey, mammals don't do monogamy. That joke isn't as funny these days. With regard to the STBX, she and I will have to deal with each other until the last kid moves out. So I want to have a decent relationship with her. Not because I want her back or I'm trying to nice my way into her life. That's just my personality. I'm a people person, not a people pleaser. There are people lined up around the block who can attest to that. She is adamant that I did not hear her sleeping with someone, that I was the only man she loved, and that she wanted to grow old and senile with me. She said accept what she was telling me or the marriage was over. I couldn't dismiss what I know happened, so here we are. My comment, she might be out of her mind. If she didn't cheat, then what's there to reconcile? Story 2. Would love to get some feedback so I don't think I am going insane. 8 weeks ago, I found some inappropriate text messages on my wife's phone by accident. I was really mad, told her she needs to stop texting this dude. He only wants to get into your pants, and she promised me she would stop. Over the course of several weeks, there was lots of sneaky texting going on. Passwords appeared on everything where there were none before. She paid great attention to her looks and clothes every time she went to the gym, where she met this guy. I suspected but trusted her, as I always have the last 12 years, that she was keeping her word. Last week I went into her office and there was another text from this same man. I freaked out, packed my bags and left for 2 days to stay at a hotel. Maybe a mistake on my part in retrospect. When I came back, she left for 2 days and then refused to sleep in the same bed. She said I scared the crap out of her by leaving in anger. I did tell her where I was spending the night and needed a few days to cool off. I wrote her a letter asking her to end this at once and for all. I pleaded and told her how much I loved her, and I told her I felt betrayed and my trust in her was shattered. I have no reason to suspect a PA, but it certainly wasn't going to a bad place. 2 days later, lo and behold, she dropped a total bombshell on me and asked to separate. Said I was being controlling and brought up a 8-page complaint list of items in our marriage, some legit, others way off base, from the last few years. I again pleaded with her not to go, as most separations end in divorce. She insists she needs her space and has no intention of divorce. The way I see it, the timing of the separation request could not be more coincidental. Clearly, she values the IA with this person more than our marriage. I think she is delusional right now and not thinking clearly. I was blindsided and blown away. My world was shattered for 2 days. I felt a part of me had died. Looking for answers, I came across this board. I read about the 180 and started to practice it. As I was getting nowhere with pleading and professing my love, it was one of the hardest things in my life to do, but I did it. I told her today maybe she was right. Maybe we do need to separate, as she is not coming clean on what happened, nor ending the EA, nor willing to sit with AMC. I could see she was shaking tonight, not knowing what to do. She packed the pets up tonight and cried as she walked out the door, to stay at a friend's house. It pained me to see her go. I so wanted to hug her and tell her to stay, but I told her this is what you wanted. Space. Be careful what you wish for. Call me if you need any help. She asked if I was changing the locks. I told her I was here to help her in any way if she was willing to come clean and work on reconciliation and the issues she brought up. And there walked the most precious person in my life for 12 years out the door. I am now alone and feel terrible. I hope this works. Yes, I do deserve better, but I also love her dearly. I truly think she is having a momentary lapse of insanity and making a cascading set of bad decisions, one after the other. I pray she comes to her senses and comes back, but if not, I am willing to move on and not be anyone's doormat. Please tell me I did the right thing. I do recall that the 180 seemed to be having a remarkable immediate effect, as had also told her I was going camping, fishing without her for a few days, and she seemed shocked and saddened that she was not invited. Further, I split our finances that day. I will no longer be blamed for any financial issues when the entire burden was on me to pay for everything. So, a lot of new stuff hit her in just a few days. No more joint accounts. We now split every joint expense 50/50 and each is free to do whatever they wish with whatever is left after that. Should have done it years ago, as it was always a point of resentment whenever funds were short. No more. I put my foot down and said, you are now free to make as much or as little money as you wish every month, as long as you cover your portion of the joint expenses we share. I plan to get back into shape quickly and purchase a mountain bike today to get back into riding. Two things which I have neglected for years and were valid complaints. Been married 12 years and never had any reason to ever doubt her. Ever. I have done that, and yes, she had some valid points. Too many hours at work, not having many outside interests, but none that would rise to the level of separation. No matter what happens, I am committed to changing those things mentioned, as some had to happen anyways. Love makes you do crazy things, as much as I hate to say it. While I don't think anything has gone physical yet, we are clearly in the danger zone when she walks out and takes the pets. Been married 12 years and never had any reason to ever doubt her. Ever. I have done that, and yes, she had some valid points. Too many hours at work, not having many outside interests, but none that would rise to the level of separation. No matter what happens, I am committed to changing those things mentioned, as some had to happen anyways. Love makes you do crazy things, as much as I hate to say it. While I don't think anything has gone physical yet, we are clearly in the danger zone when she walks out and takes the pets. The funny part is I've been away for 2 weeks myself, did not want to stay in the house alone, and have been having a blast doing new things with new people. Maybe this separation is a good thing after all. I am sure we are equally to blame for many of the things and resentment that have been allowed to build up over the years. From what I've been reading, Divorce Busters, this is all the classic signs of a midlife crisis, and treating it as such right now. I did catch one little white lie this week. She told me she was going back home to her mom's indefinitely, but a quick call to her mom confirmed that she has a return ticket a week later, and she boarded the cat. Who boards a cat if they are not coming back? So maybe something positive will happen after 6 weeks after all, but if it does not, I am ready to move on, and I have no guilt for being the one that demanded a legal separation. Update into week 4 of separation now. She flew back home, 5 states away, to stay with her mom, which I thought should have happened sooner, to take her away from the other guy. Lo and behold, her mother called me today and said she did not approve of her actions. Always liked me, and will try and talk some sense into her when she gets home. Seems word has been spreading around the family now about her affair with a 22-year. She is 41. She plans to stay there 3 to 4 weeks and then come back home and find a place to live, she said. Which broke my heart to hear. But I've read enough now about emotional affairs and midlife crisis to know that she is not thinking clearly right now. It's all a rush of passion. She has been nothing but faithful, honest and trustworthy every day of our marriage for 12 years up until this point. I don't think our marriage should end over this. As long as she is remorseful for her actions and commits to terms for a new marriage, then I feel we should try to save our marriage. Maybe ours will be stronger when all is said and done, maybe not. But we deserve to give it a chance. I now plan to tell all the relatives this week what really happened, not her version of events, and ramp up the pressure to not contact this dude ever again. I don't think we can start the healing process until he is out of the picture. Nothing will undo what she had done. But let's be fair, everyone stumbles in life, sometimes big time. But if there is true remorse and a commitment to change, then there should be forgiveness. I don't want to throw out 12 years of marriage, and all the good times we had over 4 to 6 weeks of midlife crisis. If she wants to leave, I am ready to move on. If not, I am ready to work on our relationship. Everything in her behavior has been totally out of character the last 8 weeks. She is a clean freak and all of a sudden stopped doing my laundry, which she has always done. She started buying new fashionable clothes. She stated taking an hour to get ready for the gym, where they met. She started spending 20 to 30 hours a week working out, and needless to say, the OM was there many times also. She wanted to go to the movies with him alone because I don't like comedy. I put my foot down and said absolutely not. All the red flags were there. I just did not want to believe it. I trusted my wife since day one. She never ever gave me any reason to not trust her until the last 8 weeks. I am so disgusted that people treat marriage like it's disposable. I honored my marriage vows, even when she spent years in depression and dealing with anorexia, and wanted to start a new career several times. I can't help but feel so used now. I am trying not to be bitter, angry or resentful, as it's just not good for the soul. But I wake up mornings like this and it's hard to keep up the 180. She has always been such an emotionally fragile person all these years. And now someone took advantage of that and told her everything she ever wanted to hear. And this is what happens. Next week we sign a separation agreement, and that is just a prelude, formality to the inevitable divorce. I've decided I don't want to live with the thought of someone walking out on me again who knows when. I am 42 and can do better. And I say that with great pain in my heart for the woman I once loved more than life itself. But people are right, she is not the same woman I married. That person I knew is dead and long gone. This person is cold, calculating, and hostile. Bitter and could not give a crap about me, my feelings, or our marriage. I had a real bad, horrible feeling how this is all going to end. I know my wife is super emotional and fragile. One day, maybe next month, she is going to come home to an empty house after I have moved out to another state and realize what horrific choices she made. The damage she caused the person who loved her more than anything in the world. Depression will set in and bad things can happen. I hope I am truly wrong. I pray that I am, but I know her better than anyone in the world, and I have this sick feeling in my stomach that the pain she feels will be more than she can stand. If it's half the pain I am going through, she won't be able to take it. Update: she has been gone for almost 1 month now, and I tried not to spend one day in that empty house since then, as I can't bear the pain. Today she emailed me to say it will be 1 more month, or more, if she comes back. Further, she is getting another place when she comes back, no doubt to continue to see the OM. Sorry, I can't take another month of this. Nor will I stick around in town just to see her move out for good. I am going to rent an apartment in Ka. Move all my stuff out and she can come home to an empty house whenever she decides to come home. Tomorrow I meet with a divorce lawyer to start looking, planning ahead, and then meet with our MC for the last time to say nice try, but she is long gone. It makes me sick to even have to read up on separate property and community property laws online. This is not something I ever wanted to know, let alone have to deal with. I feel sick to my stomach for having to plan legal strategy against my wife. Update: she has been gone for over 6 weeks now. She said she has no plans to come back and has not looked back. In retrospect, she had checked out mentally long before D-Day. We sign legal separation docs next week, and then it is truly all over. I have no desire to reconcile after all this. I wished her the best with her new boy toy, who has no job, money, and lives with his parents. Still sorry, just had to get that in. I find a new place a few weeks later and a new life begins again. I have no intention of reconciling, and in our state legal separation is almost the same as divorce. Divorce is just a formality, but inevitable in a few months. It's not a fun time to split up 12 years of marriage, but it is over and it's time to move on. No shortage of good women out there. I am thinking of sending the other man a thank you note. Good luck, my man. My comment: what do you guys think about these stories so far? I think this guy will do just fine because he knows his own worth. Subscribe if you haven't and let me prepare some longer series.